And welcome back to another episode of Too Much Pod Tar. Today is August 22nd, and I've got some DFS for you today, DFS advice and picks. I'm your host, Alex Keeler. I'm doing it solo today. So, yeah, just going to run through some of my picks that I like, pitchers, as always, hitters, and some stacks. Not going to go too much in detail, kind of want to do this quickly. So, um, yeah, just gonna start off here. Go with some pitchers. Off with some pitchers. One pitcher I like to start off with some studs at the top. One of the more expensive options. I like Zach Gallen. The Diamondbacks against the Giants today. Um, as you know, we've talked about a lot. The Giants' offense is not the greatest in the world. Obviously, they can do some damage. They definitely can do a little bit of damage, but they're still not that great of an offense. And, Gallen's been really solid this year. He's probably been the ace of the Diamondbacks so far. So, Robbie Ray has struggled, but Gallen's really stepped it up and kept them in that race for the second place NL West team, as that's going to be obviously the team that makes the playoffs. Because with the eight teams each, 8 teams in each league, AL and NL, it's going to be the top two in each division. So they're close right now. Right now, the standings are they're they're a little bit farther behind. They're 6.5 behind the Dodgers, but they're right there, half game back of the Rockies in third place. So if they can play a little bit better, then they maybe still can stay in that race. Obviously, they got the Padres who've been playing extremely hot and they've been great, or the Slam Diego Padres, of course. And the Rockies have been playing pretty good, but they started off playing well, but now they've fallen off. They're 2-8 in the last 10, so lost 5 in a row. So Gallen keeps it up, and Ray can get a little bit better. He's been terrible. He's been really bad so far. But if he can step it up a little bit and get some better pitching, Bumgarner comes back and can do a little bit better. They can they could definitely stay in that race. I think. I don't know if they'll make it in the long run, but I think they'll be able to stay in at least a little bit. Be a little bit behind. Obviously, 60-game season, so almost anybody could stay in it, except for like the teams like the Tigers and Orioles. Well, even the Orioles are kind of in it right now. But yeah, anyway, with Gallen, he started 5 games this year, and he struck out 36 to just 8 walks in 30 innings, 23 hits against, 8 earned runs, 5 home runs, I said 8 walks. So he's been very good. And his last start, he threw 97 pitches total, and 60 of them were strikes. Went 7 innings, gave up 1 run, which was a home run, and struck out 8 and only allowed 1 walk. And that was 27.4 points on DraftKings. And he's averaging 20.9 points. So he's had over 20 points 3 times. So he's been really good. So I like that matchup, especially against the Giants. And of course the Giants are coming off a game yesterday. If I can look at see what the score was. They scored 6 runs yesterday. So I don't think they can go back-to-back games scoring that many runs. They're not gonna. It's not really that sustainable for them. So, and especially facing Gallen, who's a much better pitcher than who they faced yesterday, which was Robbie Ray. And Yeah, with the Giants though, just a quick note on yesterday too. One of my picks was Evan Longoria, and he hit a home run, and that was a special milestone home run. It was actually his 300th home run of his career, and he became I believe it was 150th player in history to reach that mark. So that's a pretty special. That was a special moment for him, and let me just see. I could pull up the video again of that.
High drive to left. Back is Peralta. It is out of here. Number 300 for Evan Longoria, and the Giants take a 2-0 lead. Somebody get that ball. He got that one.
Yes, he did. And you talked about the success lifetime he's had against Robbie Ray. It was a good matchup. And he was sitting on that fastball. Ray opened him up with a breaking ball. He spit on it, got the fastball, and
Yeah, that was a cool moment there. And yeah, I looked at the numbers, and I knew he was good against him in his career against Ray. So it's a good call by me. And hopefully you started him in some of your lineups, and it worked out because he was great. So another pitcher I like is Zach Davies, 8,900, so a little bit less than Gallen, against the Astros, who were, before yesterday they were on an 8-game winning streak, but that was also against teams that are not as obviously not as good. They replaced the Giants, the Rockies, and the Mariners the last 3 series before that. So they're facing a much better team in the Padres now, and they lost the first game of the series yesterday, 4-3. So I think, and then Davies has been really, really good. He's averaging 17.6 points a game, DraftKings points. And let's see here. His last start, he did give up 3 earned runs, but struck out 6 just 2 walks. And his pitch count has been a little bit like on the lower side, 85 last time, 87 was his most. So his pitch count maybe will go up a little bit more than that this time around. And overall he has 24 strikeouts to just 5 walks in 27 and 2/3 innings. So, 19 hits in those innings as well. 11 runs total, and 10 of them were earned. So he's been pretty solid, and he's obviously got an offense that can explode at any time. They've been on a roll. They've been hot, so he's going to get the run support and he will definitely be able to be in the running for the win to get the win. So, and the Padres play. They're facing Brandon Bielik, who is not that great. His last start he was pretty good though. In his last start against the Rockies, 6 innings, 1 earned run. So he's been pretty solid actually, but I don't think the strikeout numbers aren't that great either. 15 strikeouts, 11 walks, so 21 and a third. So I think the Padres will be able to mash against him a little bit because he hasn't faced that good of an offense yet. He's only started 3 games too so far, and he's in the starts. He faced Arizona, which they have an okay offense, and then San Francisco, who doesn't really have that good of an offense. Colorado, who has a pretty good offense. They got Arenado, so they got Arenado and Story, Blackman. Other than those 3, they really don't have much. But he did shut them down just to 1 run after that which was a home run. But I don't know. I think he's going to blow up a little bit today against the Padres offense, who has even more power in there. I like that potential. So that could be potential stack I go with against him. I could definitely see stacking Padres, especially rolling with them as they've been really great so far. And especially of late, they've been on fire. Tatis has been on fire. Machado's been on fire. Hosmer's been getting pretty hot. He's obviously the launch angle is up this year, as we talked about before. Even Jake Cronenworth and he's a cheap option. So I like some of those guys. But then another pitcher, more of a value option I like actually is Justice Sheffield against the Rangers. He's only 6,500 on DraftKings, and he's been solid this year. He hasn't been a slouch. He struggled last year ever since being traded over from the Yankees to the Mariners in the James Paxton trade. He hasn't been that great, but he's starting to find a little bit this year. He obviously was always such a big prospect. He was a top prospect for the Yankees, which I thought he was going to turn out great, but he struggled, and I think he's starting to find a little bit. So he's been pretty good. 18 Ks, 7 walks, and 19 and 2/3. His first two starts, he gave up 4 runs in each of those. Just went 3 innings and 4 and 2/3. But after that, he's really improved. Went 6 innings in both of those. One against the Rockies and then the most recent against the Astros. And he gave up 1 run one earned run and 2 overall against the Astros. And he pitched a shutout against the Rockies. 6 shutout and 7 strikeouts to no walks in that one, and then 4 strikeouts and 1 walk against the Astros. So yeah, he's been pretty good. He's been getting there. 29.1 points against the Rockies, and then 15.3 against the Astros, and then Texas has a worse offense than both of those teams, and their strikeout numbers are they're pretty bad. As I believe they were up there in strikeout percentage. So I really like that. I really like the Sheffield move there. He's definitely a value option if you want to, put him with Gallen or Davies and then pay up for more of your hitters. So yeah, speaking of hitters too, I'm gonna move into some of those picks that I have for as far as hitters go. Some of the studs I like are Freddie Freeman. He was 5,300 facing off against Zach Wheeler, and he's been dominant against Wheeler in the past. He's matched against him. He's 14 for 29 with 2 home runs, 7 RBIs, and 13 walks against Wheeler. And Wheeler so far only has a 12% K rate, which is the bottom 7% of the league. So he hasn't been the greatest. In his first year at the Phillies. So I think Freeman could definitely mash. He's 7 for his last 18, just 389, 5 walks, 4 runs scored, and 2 RBIs in the last 5 games. And he also has 4 home runs against right-handers in 2020. And last year he had 30 home runs and a 1,005 OPS against them. He's also hit the ball very hard this year, 54.3% hard hit rate. And his WOBA is 400 with an expected WOBA of 429. So he's having a great year so far. He's only averaging 8.8 points, which isn't that low, but his last game was 11 and then 10.6 in the last 10. So he's been getting the points up there, I think, a little bit more. So I really like that matchup. The matchup is definitely opening my eyes. 14 hits and 29 at-bats against Wheeler is very, very good. So 4 home runs. He has 4 home runs this year. 292 average. 939 OPS. So I like that. And he's walking. He has 1 more walk than he does strikeouts. 18 walks to 17 strikeouts this year. So he doesn't strike out. He's not really much of a strikeout guy. So I really like that matchup. I would definitely pay up for him at 5,300. Um, so he's obviously a little bit lower than some of the top tier guys overall. So you go down a little bit more and you get him for your first baseman. Um, Another first baseman option, which is more mid tier, is Jose Abreu. He's been on a roll. He's been on fire. 2 home runs yesterday, 3 home runs over his last couple games, um, and 10 for 19 in his last four games, which he scored 17 plus points in each of those 4 games. So yeah, him and the White Sox lineup has been very much on a roll. We've been kind of just rolling with the White Sox stack, and you can continue to do that. Today they face Kyle Hendricks, which is a tougher matchup, so maybe stay a little bit more away from doing a full stack. You can still definitely get some hitters in there like Abreu. So that's definitely an option. Another guy was more of a stud was Justin Turner at 5,000 versus Kyle Freeland, the Rockies. And really, you can pretty much stack the Rockies. I mean, you stack the Dodgers, and which as always, that's always an option, of course. But one guy I definitely like is Turner. As he's been hitting the ball well of late. Let me see here. He's 12 for his last 38 with 1 home run. He only has 2 home runs this year so far. But he's still hitting pretty well. 275, 771 OPS. So yeah, he hasn't had a multi-hit game in a little while. His last game yesterday was 1 for 4. So, he hasn't scored that many points lately, but he's definitely, I think he can get a little bit something today. That's definitely an option at third. Rafael Devers is an option at third as well. 5,300, a little bit more expensive, but he's been on a roll. He had a home run yesterday, a home run two days before that, and he scored 20 points yesterday, 26 on Wednesday, and then 17 on Tuesday. So he's been putting up some points as far as that goes. And let's see, I also like Alec Boehm, who's another third baseman. He's definitely a value play at 3,100. But he's not off to the greatest start. He's only played, I think, he's played 9 games, and he's only 8 for 29. Well, that's not terrible either. 8 for 29 isn't bad. It's still a 276 average. He hasn't gotten that first home run yet. He's got 3 RBIs, 6 walks, 6 Ks. So yeah, I think he'll be able to have a chance to get something today, especially that price. That price definitely is it's so low that you can definitely go and roll with him. And they're facing Phillies are facing Robbie Erlin, who started 1 game this year. 3 others were in relief, and the one start he only went 4 innings, but he shut the Marlins out in those 4 innings. Which, it's the Marlins, so can't really be too crazy about that. 5 strikeouts, no walks, 68 pitches, 18.4 points. So, obviously I said it's the Marlins, so I think the Phillies lineup is going to be able to do damage against him. That's another stack. And I said stack Marlins. I said to stack Phillies yesterday, and that didn't go so well. Fried was definitely the opposite of what I thought he was going to be, and it ended up being Nola who blew up. He only went 2 2/3, 4 runs, and so he was in the negatives as far as points go for DraftKings. So that's kind of screwed me there. But me and Joey's thing about the little fun competition we had going with which with who was gonna do better, Phillies stack or Fried, and obviously Fried did better, but we actually had it as if Fried had to score 21 points for Joey to win, and for me to win, the Phillies had to help me cash out, which they didn't. But Fried, he scored something like 19 points, so Joey fell 2 points shy of winning. So it's a tie. Neither of us won. We'll probably try to get a little more competition like that in the future, and hopefully next time it doesn't end up like a tie again, or somebody actually does reach that goal that we set, like whatever it is. So in the future, we're definitely going to try to doing that. I definitely like some friendly competition. So, but yeah, I really like the Philly stack today. So you can go with Bohm as the value is more of a value option. Of course, you go with Harper, who for some reason got scratched yesterday. I don't know why. Well, I know he was at the Sixers game ringing the bell, which is if he was scratched for that reason, I don't know how he was allowed to do that, but he'll probably be back in the lineup today. He's the most expensive, 6.1K. Real Muto is obviously another option, 5.2K, and he's had 3 home runs over his last 10. So he's been pretty good. 2 hits yesterday, 2 for 3. So he was the one guy that did good in that lineup. He got 10 DraftKings points. So he was the one who actually did something. The rest of them really didn't do much. So, yeah, and then you also got Andrew McCutchen, who's 3,800. He's still pretty cheap, and it's because he's been struggling. He hasn't really done much this year. I'm waiting for him, waiting for him to break out, and I think he will today. Calling it as today. I'm going to say he hits his first home run of. Oh no, he has one already. It's his second home run of this season, so that's my home run call, Andrew McCutchen. So I'm gonna roll with him. I'm gonna say he's gonna hit home run today, and that's my official home run call. I think he's gonna start breaking out more. And obviously, he's coming back from the ACL, and he was obviously able to rest a little bit longer with the whole pandemic and all that, the time in between. But obviously, it's a torn ACL, which doesn't just you don't just get right back into it. So I think he's going to start breaking out more this year, and that's going to start tonight against Erlin. So I like him for that lineup. I like Didi Gregorius for that lineup for that stack, who's been not that great. He's hitting 307. Got 3 home runs, so he's been okay. His last 10, he hasn't. His last 10, he's actually very good, 12 for 32 with 3 doubles, 5 RBIs, 3 walks, 3 Ks. That's a 375 average, 905 OPS, so he's been on fire the last 10 games. I don't know why I said he wasn't been that great, but he has. Just had to look at the numbers here. So he's an option for the lineup. Even Jay Bruce. Jay Bruce is an option. 3 home runs the last 10. 8 for 36, which is only 222, but he had the 3 home runs, so he can do damage. And yeah, that's most of it for that stack. Maybe even Reese Hoskins, who's yet to really break out this year, is still just hitting 206. So he's kind of, I don't know what's going on with him. He's struggling a lot, so I think he can be another guy that starts to break out a little bit. So those are the main guys I like in a stack. But yeah, some other hitters I like if I wanted to scroll through some quick ones. Obviously, you can always pay up for Blackman, Nelson Cruz against Brady Singer, Trevor Story, obviously Bellinger, Jose Ramirez against Detroit and Boyd, Tatis against Bielik, which I said kind of a Padres stack, so Machado too, and Cronenworth, Hosmer. So those are some of the other guys I would probably shoot for. I mean, obviously the more expensive ones. So yeah, Paul Goldschmidt's probably another option, more in the lower range, or a little bit lower, 5,000 against Wade Miley. Christian Vasquez against Alex Cobb. I don't have the numbers pulled up against what his matchup numbers are, but those are the guys that have kind of been doing well. And it's a good matchup against the Orioles. So Franmil Reyes against Boyd too. So you can always go with a Cleveland stack too. With Reyes. Reyes is probably one of the main guys you go with there. Marte against the Giants and Anderson. What's his name? Tyler Anderson. And yeah, he had a double 2 for 4 on Thursday. 16 for his last 43, which is a 372 average, 6 RBIs, and he's hitting 330 this year. So still for thus far. So he's a solid option against Tyler Anderson. So those are kind of the main guys I like for today. So that's basically it. I had my home run call of Andrew McCutchen. I'm really hoping that he does that. That would be awesome to see. It's starting to break out a little bit out of kind of a slump that he's been going through. But yeah, that's basically it. Hopefully you win some cash. And tomorrow's Sunday. We're back. I think me and Joe will be back with another episode for tomorrow's slate, which will be, the Sunday. So I believe it's going to be the afternoon slate, like, 1 o'clock, 1:05. So that'll be good. That'll be up. I'll have that up, probably in the morning. Probably have that up in the morning at some point, before the games start. And of course, just news: the Mets Yankees series the whole series was officially postponed, and it's not sure when they're going to make it up. But of course, because of the Mets, a couple of the Mets, either staff, players, came down with COVID, so they had to cancel. They had to postpone, not cancel. The cancel and postpone are different words. Postpone is just push back. Cancel is just not going to happen ever. So they postponed it. Not sure what. I guess the Yankees are just move on to their next series, which will start on Tuesday against the Braves. It's a 2-game series. So it's been a crazy year. It's been a whirlwind. It's been a lot of ups and downs, a lot of crazy things happening. We'll see if we end up finishing it. Hopefully we do. Hopefully we get the playoffs. Once we get to the playoffs, hopefully they actually do the bubble, which they've been talking about. Because if they don't do the bubble, and you get a bunch of teams or a bunch of players testing positive, it's not going to go well. They're not going to be able to do the playoffs. It's not fair if a bunch of players from one team, I'm just going to say because the Yankees have been getting so many injuries, let's just say they end up getting a lot of positive COVID tests, and that's not fair because they're not going to have a full team. Obviously they got the players down the alternate training site, but that's not an actual full team. That's not their full strength. That wouldn't be fair for them. So I think at that point you getting rough waters there. But anyway, that's it for me. I'm getting up in a half hour now, so Make sure you tune in tomorrow. We'll be back. And just a reminder, you can never, ever, ever have too much pod tar or DFS. Peace out.